Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Targitt number 1 through 3. This comic was Atlas Seaboard's answer to Death Wish and Dirty Harry. But then, like all their comics, they did a hard left turn trying to get more sales and kind of turned him into a more traditional superhero. But look at this first issue here. It's just a very gritty, kind of hard-boiled, violent comic. Cover by Dick Giordano. Pretty slick, pretty sharp cover. And of course, it's a Atlas Seaboard comic, so it's from 1975 because they lasted a year. So we start off, we're in an airport, and we meet John Targitt and his wife, whose name is Kyle. I've never heard of a woman named Kyle before. And his daughter. They're about to get on a plane to head off for vacation. He's got to work. He's got a lot of work at his job. And so he's going to join him in 2 days. So they get on the plane, and all of a sudden, the plane explodes and crashes, killing everyone on board. I kind of like how Howard Nostrand, the artist, does this like 2-page kind of spread, like half spread, every issue. It's a nice motif. And I noticed Howard Nostrand's really good at drawing mechanical things. Like there's certain panels in here of helicopters and stuff. Like there's like a well-drawn plane. I don't know if he maybe just threw it up on the screen with one of those artograph projectors. But he draws that stuff really well. So, this is written by Rick Myers. Rick Myers is a guy who, I think he wrote, books about horror movies and stuff. Kind of like a Jeff Roven type guy. Barely wrote any comic books. I looked him up on Grand Comic Database. He has 11 credits to his name. Most of them were for Atlas. But he did stuff even as late as the 90s and the noughts. But very sparse bibliography. This art is very interesting where, look at some of these faces. They're just kind of Howard Nostrand's not in his prime in this comic. I mean, his prime was probably the 50s. But, oh my God, this is there's some amazing panels in this comic. The art's very interesting. It just looks so different from so many comics. Some of this stuff reminds me of underground comics, the more realistic guys like Roger Brand and stuff. But I love this seedy guy who's kind of hanging around the airport. He's involved with this crash. Another interesting face. Doesn't look like a typical comic book face. So John Targitt's in the FBI. He runs to the crash. And, of course, he's distraught. He says his wife and child have just died. And then he finds, I don't know how he knows this, but this is part of the bomb that blew up the plane. And part of the padding is a Boston newspaper. He puts it in his pocket, and then Carl and Jackie show up. Now, Carl and Jackie are his colleagues at the FBI. Carl's his boss, and Jackie's a fellow agent. And, of course, just like every 70s cop movie, he's the rogue FBI agent who's all I'm not gonna follow your orders. I'm taking my vacation now, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of this on my own. Carlos maybe you should back off, John. You're too distraught to deal with this. He's fuck you. I'm gonna do it. Some of these faces are just so weird. Kind of reminds me of a 60s Hanna-Barbera animation. These could be a Doug Wildey or Alex Toth model sheet art. So as he's leaving the airport, that hippie guy we saw earlier, I guess he gets the orders. He's on the phone, and they say, "Oh, take that guy out, kill him." So he tries to shoot John on the escalator. John kicks him. The guy runs, And John kills him with a throwing knife. And he throws him in the bathroom. There's a lot of like kind of goofy, funny stuff in this comic, even though it's deadly serious and very violent. But there's also these kind of comical scenes where I don't know if this is funny to me. He puts him in the bathroom sink as he's questioning him. And he's basically shaking him down. It's like, you're going to tell me who's behind this. So now, later at a Boston University dormitory, John sneaks in, and there's another hippie dude there with a gun. And look how he's drawn. This is very, very just like, kind of almost caricature. But this also reminds me of like Roger Brand or something. So apparently this guy's a drug dealer. He makes it sound like he's kind of the head honcho of the drugs in Boston. And yet he lives in a little dormitory room. It seemed a little silly. This guy would probably be a multi-millionaire. So he admits that he blew up the plane. Apparently there was a big drug dealer, a bigger drug dealer on the plane. This guy was sick of taking orders from him, and so he offed him. I don't know why he didn't just shoot him. I don't know why he blew up a whole plane to get this guy, but he did. They even rip off the, like, not entirely, but they have this whole little speech about the .357 Magnum, the most powerful handgun ever made. It just totally is smacks of Dirty Harry. So here we have some of that. See that? Doesn't that look like Alex Toth? Like not the best Alex Toth? So of course John Targitt gets the best of this guy, even though he's got a gun on him. Notice these thick outlines. Maybe that's why I think it looks like animation art. And he wallops him. Meanwhile, we see outside the door, I guess it's his hippie girlfriend is showing up with her guitar. And she's about to walk in the door. Oh, I'm sorry, walk by. She's a neighbor. And his head smashes through the door. And look at it from the other side when she opens the door. His whole body is suspended from the door in his head. That is just so odd. And so he looks through the guy's papers, Targitt does, sorry. And he finds the name of the next higher up, his mob contact. We still see him in the background with his head hanging from the door. Very odd. The woman starts screaming. You definitely see a lot of Will Eisner in this too. And she's like, "Eek, help, Fuzz, help." And then these goons are outside waiting for him. This seems very Will Eisner to me too. And he just knocks, basically barrels through him. So later at Haymarket Square, I love that face right there. That's really great. So this guy, Victor Spinoli, I don't know how to pronounce that. I've never seen an Italian name like that. Spinoia, maybe that's pronounced. So he's a syndicate hitman. And so now he's trailing this guy. So he's walking through, and he knows there's a hit out on him. There's a contract out on him. And he sees this guy, Alan Greenberg, killer extraordinaire. And he knows all these killers. He's an FBI agent. And he knows that, he looks behind him and says, "Yep, sure enough, it's Michael Rosen, the knife man." So he's on to these guys. So, let me just get his name real quick. Greenberg and Rosen. So, Rosen comes up with the knife, and Targitt just punches him. And then, Targitt pulls out his gun and blows Greenberg's head right off. I love these. These panels are just so kind of funny. It's so goofy. Some of these, a lot of this too reminds me almost like a mad parody of a comic. There's very silly stuff in here. And so Spinoia is all like, "You bought it this time, Targitt?" I guess they were lying in wait. And he's got a bunch of goons. He's like, "Wipe him out." And then Carl shows up. He says, "Nobody move, you're all under arrest." And someone shoots his pipe stem. Like, just little goofy touches like that. It's so weird. I love these panels. This is very Nostrand. With these great, it looks like, something from a Harvey Kurtzman comic. These great sound effects. But I love that little kind of cinematic panelology. So, and then we see Targitt, even though he's this big tough guy, he kind of is just like, oh man, who ordered World War III? And he's hiding behind these fruit crates. So he's just like kind of a goofy guy sometimes when he's not being Dirty Harry. So Spinowea is making his exit, and Targitt tackles him. I love these panels right here. This is very like from The Spirit or something by Eisner. Just seeing every bit of the fight choreography. And once again, he's getting shot at. He's hiding behind these crates. Look at that position he's in. This is so, I don't know, Mort Drucker or something. No, not Mort Drucker, but it's just so weird. Like Howard Nostrand's kind of drawing cartoony in this deadly, serious, violent comic. Oh, I skipped a page. So, John Targitt throws a hand grenade up to where the guys are shooting. He blows them away. Bluey. And later at the Boston field office of the FBI, Carl is basically dressing down Targitt. Once again, it's that typical cop movie thing. You're a wild card, Targitt. And Targitt is just sassing him. Because Carl knows that he knows more than he's letting on. He's like, tell me what you know. And Targitt's like, nah. He says, go suck a lemon, Carl. But this is just such old-timey art in a way. Like this, remember, this is 1975. Not many guys were drawing like this anymore. And so back at that Boston University dorm room, John Targitt is sneaking back in. And this time Spinowea is in there. And he has just killed that hippie kid. Love that panel of him. That's really nice stuff. And then we hear bam. And it's Jackie. And she shoots Spinowea in the back. He's dead. It looks like he's dead. This is the first issue. Some later issues have a lot of zipatone in them. This is so funny. Look, she looks just like Susan Day from the Partridge Family there. I'm pretty sure Howard Nostrand probably had a TV in the background. He looked up and he said, that's what I'll base Jackie on. Kind of beautiful. It's kind of a nice little drawing. So they have a little talk. And now in Mystic Seaport, Connecticut, that's where the evidence trail has led him to. See, here we have some of that zipatone. And he's taking a rowboat out to this ship where he knows these drugs are going to be delivered. This page is just all around interesting. The zipatone night sky here, really cool looking. And then look at this panel here with no border, just a splash of color. Pink and yellow as these two scuba guys swim through the water. So I guess they're delivering like a suitcase full of money. So we got all these drug dealers in the ship. And then Targitt climbs up on board. I guess they're about to haul this cash, bring it up to Canada on this helicopter. But of course, Targitt shows up. 2 Magnum, 357 Magnums, blamming away. But I should mention this too. Every line of dialogue he has when he's confronting the criminals is just like kind of tough guy cliches. It's not very well written, the dialogue. But, he's all like, hold it, you aren't going anyplace but 6 feet under. Like, there's so many, like, just cheesy macho lines like that. So he's just blasting away at these guys. And this is so interesting as we think about it. 1975. The Punisher, I think, had just been created, but he was considered a villain because he went around shooting guys in the mob, bad guys. But in Atlas, it's just like, yeah, he was our hero, our main character with his own title, and he just kills guys indiscriminately. No habeas corpus due process for these guys. It's just, he's a vigilante, even though he works for the FBI. But it's interesting, though, like the difference between Atlas. Like somehow they got around the Comics Code. I'm still baffled by how some of their titles didn't get shut down by the Comics Code. So just panel after panel of him just killing guys. Look at this kind of, here's another like kind of goofy looking panel. He trips this guy. It's just like, it looks like something from a comedy, like a funny comic. And so then one guy gets on the helicopter with the money. He's going to make it. He's going to get away. But John Targitt picks up a machine gun and he just fires away at this incredibly well-drawn helicopter. And I love this panel. Look at that. So he blows it up. So that guy's dead. The suitcase lands on the deck of the ship and John Targitt opens it and he throws it into the ocean. And just so stupid. Why would you do that? First of all, it's evidence if you actually want to prosecute these guys. Even if you were going to, why don't you take it and donate it to an orphanage? What does that help at all except for be like some tough guy thing to do? I do love this panel that says the end. As if you were watching a movie, as we see the money fall into this zipper-toned water. Man, this comic is just so interesting to me. I think I'm pretty sure I didn't like this as a kid. You know, he doesn't draw with lots of lines. I was like, he's no Pat Broderick. But now, as a weird old man, I'm just like, there's something about this crazy art that like definitely is storytelling. I love the way he lays out panels, but I want more of this. And luckily I'll get more because we're going to look at number 2 in a second. Now don't let the title fool you. In the indicia, this comic is still technically called Targitt. But now on the title it says John Targitt, Manstalker. That's his superhero name, I guess. And they have him in a superhero outfit. So I figured the first sales weren't that good. So Chip Goodman or Martin Goodman were like, hey, we got to make it more like a typical, superhero comic. But nonetheless, this is a really nice cover by Frank Thorne. I like this a lot. I like how one of the guys he's attacking lands on the third rail here. And he's all like, zzz, zzz, zzz. Okay, let's get started. I think the first issue has the worst art. I mean, I like it, but he gets better in the second and third issues. Definitely a lot more zipper tone. So it looks just sharp. It looks more slick. So we start off, we're in Alaska. Targitt is driving this Jeep through these very rough roads. They're basically trails. He's in the middle of nowhere. Still trying to forget his wife and kid. It's only been 10 days since the events of the beginning of number 1. And we see these two guys here. And they've got a dynamite plunger. And they depress it. And we see this giant explosion on the cliff over John Targitt's Jeep. I don't understand why one of the guys says, "Now Ali," and the other guy goes, "Hella," which I don't know, maybe that's Arabic, but just kind of weird that they don't even explain. Why is this guy yelling Hella? Oh, here's another one of those great half spreads. Oh, it's so good. So this issue, almost the same creative team, except apparently Rick Myers is getting help from Gabriel Levy. Now, we don't know if one did the plot, one did the script. We don't know if they just totally collaborated. because it just has this very nebulous credit box. God, man, I love this. This is so nice. So his car goes over the cliff edge. We see it bouncing down and explode. God, the colors there are really good for the simple process coloring at the time. So somehow Targitt's alive. I guess he jumped out of the car at the last minute. And now we have a flashback. He's basically, how did I get here? That kind of flashback. So, the last time he was hanging out in Boston, the Boston area, he gets on a train to New York. He says, what better way to unwind from pressure than being bored to death? And I guess somehow I don't understand why this train would go out of its way to Chicago on its way to New York. But he says that at Chicago, we picked up 2 old-timers. These are like tough guys dating back to the Al Capone days. And one of the guys' name is Jack Dirt DeFranco. And the other guy is Sly Walker. I love these like caricatured old goons. Really almost like funny. And you can really see the Eisner here. So John's walking in the train down the aisle. And one of the goons trips him. And then says, oh, let me give you a hand there. And then he punches him in the gut. And Targitt does nothing. He kind of has this almost comical look on his face. It's kind of weird, this sequence. Like, this doesn't seem like Targitt. But I guess maybe he doesn't want to tip his hand. But he's just taking it. And one of them hands him a note. He says, hey, I got a love letter for you. And then as John Targitt walks away, he says, and I love you too. It's a weird thing to say. So the note says, there's an open contract on you. You'll never get off this train. And he's confused. He's like, why would they warn me about this? So he opens his suitcase and he's got his 2 trusty magnums and extra bullets. And as soon as the train pulls into, I believe they're in New York City. Yes, they are. He sees the Amendola family boys. Now, this is a little inside reference. An artist at Atlas Seaboard, Sal Amendola. I think that's a little shout out to him. So Targitt makes a run for it. He starts running through the whole length of the train until there's nowhere left to run. And then he jumps off the back. So we're now in the New York City subway system. And they're shooting at him in the dark. And he hides behind this little nook. And they're not finding him. They kind of walk right by him. And then John gets the jump on him from behind. And once again, he says one of his kick-ass macho lines. What's the rush, boys? 'Cause you're just in time for breakfast. Eat lead. Once again, I love these sound effects. Blam, blam, blam. And then right then, I guess he didn't get them all. So there's 2 more guys. And they run scared. And they run right into an oncoming train. And I love this panel of John Targitt leaning up against the wall as the train goes right by him. He says, I couldn't hear their screams or see their bodies splintering. The train made too much noise, but I did feel a warm, pulpy liquid splatter my face. It was blood and crushed bone. Oh, man. You'd never see that in a Marvel and DC comic. By the way, I love that panel. The play of light and dark in his face. Amazing stuff. So much interesting, like the background characters in this, totally drawn in the sketchy, loose style. Man, Howard Nostrand's just kind of fascinating to me. Obviously not the best artist you've ever seen, but he's doing so much interesting stuff in here. I love just this little panel here. As we see him getting to the taxi, and they split the panel, and it's the back of the taxi. He's getting out the other side at his destination. So the panel gutter denotes that the time has passed. it's just like little tricks like that are really interesting. So he goes to the FBI office. Basically, he's pissed off. He's going to give him a piece of his mind. He barges right into Carl's office, even though the secretary says he's busy. And he gets in there. He says, Carl, there's something I got to get off my chest. And Carl just says, you're fired, Targitt. And he's like, huh? But... And basically he's like, yeah, you've been too high profile, running around, shooting up places, airports, and, train stations. And we can't be having that shit. We're supposed to be faceless, defenders of safety, He even does, I like how he mentions, man, the way you've been flashing those magnums, you'd think we were walking around in a Clint Eastwood movie. And it's like, well, it seems like that was the intention. And also, I wonder if this is a nod to Kojak, Carl's physical appearance. I guess Kojak was a pretty successful show at the time. And then, of course, another goofy gag or joke. He says, and look at you, you're dressed so shabbily. You'd think you were almost run over by a freight train the way you look. So there's always weird little goofy jokes in this comic. Even though we just saw blood and crushed bone splatter on Targitt's face. Another wonderful page. If you guys have watched my videos, you know I'm a sucker for multi-paneled pages. I love it. The more panels, the better. So he's grousing as he leaves the place, really pissed off. And he says, yeah, it's just like Hutch, my old colleague at the FBI. He was injured, and then they just got rid of him. And now I've got this contract on my life from the mafia, and they don't even give a shit about me. Fuck the FBI. He's pissed off. So he says, hey, wait a second. I should go visit my old friend Hutch. He's got an antique arms store here in New York. Because they took his guns. They said, leave your badge, you gotta leave your guns. So he's got no guns, and he's got all these guys trying to kill him. So he goes to Hutch's store. Once again, we have a little, comedy going on. He's all like, Hutch, you old son of a gun, how are you? And he's like, cut the crap, John. I ain't seen you for 2 years, and all of a sudden you're my buddy. So he hooks him up, though. He gives him his guns. And he says, I don't understand. Those are my guns. And Carl comes out of the shadows. And he says, I gave him the guns. And you're really not fired from the FBI, but we need you to be a special, undercover agent. And so we had to do that farce, And a lot of these great little panels. So I guess Hutch has been an undercover agent for years. The FBI didn't cut him loose cold-heartedly. So these guys are under the radar of the normal FBI guys. So his first assignment, Targitt's first assignment, is someone's been fucking with the oil pipelines up in Alaska, sabotaging them. And we're sending you up there, and you got to figure it out. And then Carl finishes it by saying, we'll even buy you some new clothes. You look like the bottom of a parrot cage. Good one, Carl. So he's heading outside, and he sees more of the goons, and they're firing at him. And I guess Hutch has given him an Uzi, which I think at the time was maybe not as well known, because he's like, damn, how do you assemble these goddamn things when you're under fire? Not the best choice of weapon right now. I wish I had my magnums. And he finally gets the Uzi together. And even though they told him, hey, keep a low profile, right on a New York City street in front of this furniture store, he gets the Uzi assembled. And look at this. He's just mowing him down. All his great sound effects. Kind of old school looking, just interesting shading on his face if you look closely. Man, that's an interesting panel. But this is what I really love. This totally reminds me of Jack Davis at EC or something. Even Bernard Krigstein a little. And look at him mowing these guys down so violently. There's no way the Comics Code approved this. Well, they did, apparently. But it's so hard to believe. I like how it's mixed with the mannequins, too. So the mannequins are getting mowed down, and the gang members are, too. He even says, the bullets ripped through mannequin plastic as easily as they tore through gangland flesh. God, man, this comic has so many interesting pages. So now we're back to the present in Alaska. John Targitt gets up. The two guys who set off the explosion, Amush and Ali, are checking the wreckage, make sure he's dead. And then all of a sudden, Manstalker appears. So Targitt put on his costume. This costume looks like it was designed by an 8-year-old. You know, like a lot of nerds, when, like I did this too. When you're 8, you're like, I'm making up my own superhero. And this looks exactly like something an 8-year-old would draw. Like, this is my character, I don't know, Justice Man. But he's Manstalker. So he kills one of them. Another great panel. And the other guy runs. And he says, please, Effendi, do not kill me. I am unarmed. And of course, Targitt saying all this. Calling him Sahib and shit. Saying kind of insensitive nicknames for him. So they basically say that they're working for someone who this pipeline will cut into their profits. I assume it's OPEC or something like that. It's but he says he works for the Mexico Amaralf Corporation. So they're trying to do some social criticism here, talking about the big oil companies. And I guess he tries to oh yeah, he calls them Alibaba here. He says, "Night, I'm glad you tried that, Alibaba. Now I have an excuse to kill you." Because this guy, I think it's Ali. Ali is reaching for his papers, but really it's a gun. He was gonna try to kill Targitt, but Targitt was too fast. So now he's gonna head to the Mexico Amarov headquarters. Meanwhile, we see Jackie and Carl, and oh, I'm sorry. Guys, this is not Carl. It's just another balding guy. This is at the offices of a major American gas company. So it's Jackie. She's undercover pretending to be a reporter. But then when she actually says, hey, actually I'm an FBI agent. I'm here to investigate the mishaps plaguing your pipeline. Once again, looks just like Susan Day. It's the same angle almost. I think he probably had a teen magazine with a picture of her and just used that to draw her. So I guess they're getting blackmailed by these saboteurs. She says, I want to help you. This is what the FBI does. We're going to smoke these saboteurs, these blackmailers out. And he's like, oh, of course. Thank you for the assistance. And then his foreman, he calls in his foreman and he says, hey, would you show this woman around? But then he whispers to him. He says, kill her, she's a spy. And the guy says, I understand, master. I thought it was weird that he calls his boss master. So look at that, another kind of goofy Will Eisner face. And then this guy comes out from behind a curtain. And he says, basically, it seems like he's the head honcho because he's like giving this guy orders. So now we see the foreman showing Jackie around. Nice, interesting panel here, the lighting on her. And he's about to throw her in this giant vat of boiling oil. But then Manstalker swings down on a rope, punches the guy, and throws him in the oil. I love this so much. The guy's obviously gonna die. But then John Targitt pumps 3 bullets into him. He says, here's a neat little postscript in case you didn't get the point. It's just insane why you would do that. But once again, I love these little panels showing all the action. The cinematic panels. God, God, I love all these faces. They're so, like, caricatured. Even though even though the story is kind of deadly serious. So those guys come out, you know, the Arabic-looking dude and the owner of the oil company, the gas company. Targitt kicks these oil barrels down upon them, down this ramp. And it seems like that would probably injure the hell out of them. But Jackie says what this needs is a lady's touch. So she has the bon mots as well. And she shoots the oil barrels so they explode. I'm pretty sure they would get blown up too. They're pretty close to it. But man, look at that panel. That is totally like EC Comics. That's so good. I want to get a tattoo of that on my rump, on my left buttock. So so this is weird. So the Arabic guy is still alive, the head honcho, and he runs up on top of this gas tank, giant gas tank, and he says, "I have succeeded in my mission. I'm sorry, I have not succeeded in my mission, and I must pay the price." And he kills himself. Man, I love this explosion, the colors going on in here, the oranges and the reds. And so, I don't know, suicidal oil minister. So Jackie says, well, at least the Alaskan pipeline is saved. She says, but with power mad people like him running loose, how far can the world be from ultimate catastrophe? I don't know, Jackie. I just don't know. It's kind of a weird last panel. Like I said, Rick Myers didn't write many comics. I think that's why I like these comics, because it's almost like Rick Myers doesn't really know how to draw or write the standard comic script. So it all seems a little off, the plotting and the acts of the story, you know? So now we have issue number 3. They're really leaning into this superhero thing. And this cover is by Rich Buckler, pencils, Al Milgrom inks. Not bad for a hacky superhero comic cover. Now, this is, fortunately, even though they definitely tried to change the trajectory of this comic by giving him a superhero outfit, this one does so even more so. But it's one of the few Alice comics where they kept the original, well, roughly the original team. So Howard Nostrand draws all of them. In almost all the Alice comics we've looked at, they, like the 3rd or 4th issue, will just have, like the first issue will have Steve Ditko inked by Wally Wood, and then it'll be like just, I don't know, some shit. Really terrible fanzine artist. But it's so nice that even though they're definitely taking a left turn here, but they, you know, it's still Howard Nostrand, so I don't care. I mean, I don't care what really necessarily the plot is. I just want more of this Howard Nostrand art. So the story starts off right in the middle of the action. John Targitt is busting into this, I believe, an office building room, and these gunmen are waiting for him, and they just fire at him. We don't have the 2-page half spread this time. So, he's beating the shit out of these guys, and their leader, or their boss, his name's Taumbach, and he runs into this room with a steel door, and he feels all safe and secure. He's kind of pleased with himself, how he was smart enough to put in this unbreakable door. And he says, nobody can call Ralph Taumbach a fool. No, sir. And then he hears a voice, Ralph Taumbach, you are a fool. What after he just thought that? So if you noticed, they keep changing it between Taumbach and Taumbach. Some of this nice zipatone work going on here. This issue has a lot of that. So it turns out that voice, the guy who called him a fool, it's Professor Death, his employer. And I guess Taumbach. God, he can't even keep it straight, panel to panel. It's Taumbach. He was trying to double-cross his employer. And Professor Death found out, and he's like, the contract is thus void since you tried to cheat me, and your life is forfeit. And he throws the skull bomb full of gas down on the floor. And Talbot says, Professor Death, no! So it looks like he's a goner. Now, this sequence is another really goofy sequence. Targitt is outside, and he's shooting his magnum at the knob, hoping to break it. It's like pumping, like, I don't know, 40 bullets into it. He's like, it's no use. But maybe if I yank at it, maybe I loosened it with the bullets. This is such a weird little sequence. But then the door just opens, and he walks in. I love the way this gas... I know it's nothing special, but just that looks so cool to me, this panel. And he starts coughing, and it's this poison gas from Professor Death. He says, let this be a warning to the world. No man can halt the rise of Professor Death, and we finally get to see him. Pretty cool looking face there. It looks like Graham Ingalls drew it or something, or Bernie Wrightson. So it looks like Targitt's a goner now. So the next morning, there's a headline. Talbot, gang boss, dead. And it's Carl's office. And God, I want to call him Kojak now. So they're like, okay, Talbot's dead. Oh my God, they did it again. Now it's back to Talbot. Talbot's dead, and Targitt's disappeared. And we assume there's a connection there since he was assigned to get to Talbot. So he's talking to Jackie and Hutch, the ones we met the past 2 issues. And he says, okay, guys, you're going to accompany me to New York. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Targitt's out there. We got to rescue him. And they have some typical cop drama dialogue here. Man, he's really using up the zipper-tone in this. So now, I was very confused at this sequence. We see Talbot, totally fine and dandy. He's in a diner, kind of being a dick to the waitress, being really rude. And Targitt slams open the door. This part I don't understand. I don't know why he's still alive. Professor Death gassed him with his poison gas. So he starts roughing him up. He throws him outside so he won't bust up the joint. And this waitress is pretty sassy. And he's questioning Talbot, and he tells him the whole story. I guess Professor Death wanted the world to believe Talbot was dead, and then he wanted him to skip town, like go to Brazil or something. So Targitt, of course, is like, you set me up. What the hell's going on here? And then he says, it's you he's after, Targitt. So he had Targitt. And why isn't Targitt dead? I don't understand why he gassed him. And then what? Just let him get up and walk away? I don't get it. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, Targitt starts feeling woozy. We can tell by these multicolored circles around his head. And he says, all of a sudden I'm getting dizzy, just like that when that gas hit me last night. And he's like, fuck, damn it. You had some cyanide in your tie, and you just gassed me. Which, once again, I don't know. How come he's not getting gassed? Maybe because he touched the tie? I don't know. So, and then it looks like Talbot is going to kill him because he's got him at his mercy. But then all of a sudden you hear a clang, and it's the waitress. Turns out the waitress is an undercover FBI agent. Now, once again, I still don't understand. So, Professor Death didn't kill him. Just gave him gas that made him dizzy, and then let him go. And then, but this Talbot is now going to kill him. I don't get it at all. But once again, kind of comical the way these panels are laid out. And then, you guys know how I love this kind of shit. Oh man, as Targitt comes back into consciousness, all these weird little circles coalesce into the face of the waitress, well, who's really an FBI agent. And her name's Agent Brewer, by the way. So she found his ID card when he was unconscious, and she called them. That's why all of his buddies are there. And Jackie says, yeah, you might have bought the farm if she didn't recognize you. And Brewer says, all in the line of duty, I assure you. And Jackie says, oh, I'm really assured. And look at the look on her face. And Carl even has to say, put your claws away, ladies. So now we realize Jackie kind of has a crush on John Targitt because she's jealous. Even though this girl saved his life, she's like, yeah, get your meat hooks off of him. So then all of a sudden Carl's like, oh, I got to show you this videotape, which is shaped like a roll of film. Maybe Howard Nostrand didn't even know what videotape was. I mean, most people didn't in 1975. So he shows him a little AV demonstration. Once again, these are some really nice panels. So it's basically the history of Professor Death. Professor Hannibal Burns, alias Professor Death, brilliant biochemist. One day there was an accident in the lab. He was working on some kind of nerve gas for the military, and he became Professor Death. You know, that's why he looks so desiccated and fucked up. So apparently he's insane. He's quite mad. And sorry guys, I'm trying to read this to see if, like, do they ever explain why he let John Targitt go? I don't know. Maybe not. So they give him like a new special costume which has servo mechanisms in it, which I guess like augment your strength, but they don't give him any guns. Oh guys, I totally forgot to mention, this issue is co-written by Rick Myers and Jerry Conway. It seems like at Atlas, Seaboard, Jerry Conway was called in to retool the heroes in those last 2 months. In the case of Tiger Man, he made him not a murderer anymore. Like basically to turn them into more typical mainstream superheroes. So it's like he's doing it with this. You know, no mainstream superheroes are running around shooting people with guns. So I'm pretty sure this is Jerry Conway's influence. They're taking away Targitt's guns, basically. They're like, you don't need him anymore. You got this awesome costume. So, God, this panel, look at that. The moody Zipatone shading going on here. So, Targitt is sneaking onto Professor Death's ship. They know where he's, what dock he's at. And it turns out Professor Death knew he was there because he says, Jonathan, get him. And this big goon comes out, grabs Targitt. And this is really good fight shit going on these next few pages. I just have to mention, guys, once again, look at that. That is such an 8-year-old superhero. That mask is just so silly looking. So, and then John, as he's fighting, John Targitt, he keeps saying, I feel stronger. I feel strange. I feel stronger than ever. And he is. So, what we're finding out is that gas, when he got gassed by that weird shit that Professor Death made, I guess it gave him actual superpowers. So once again, that's the Jerry Conway touch. Like, we can't just have a guy in a suit. We have to make him an actual superhero. So this really reminds me of Eisner, this fight scene. But this is really fun stuff. I love this fight scene. And finally, Targitt punches him so hard he goes through the metal railing of the ship and falls into the water. I like how he thinks to himself, he says, the poor idiot. That's something I owe Professor Death. making me hurt an imbecile like Jonathan. He feels bad for the dumb lug. And Professor Death says, won't you step into my cabin? And this is kind of weird. They didn't even show us how this happens. I guess Targitt lets himself be captured because he doesn't have his guns. So he's tied up on this wall. Professor Death, of course, is revealing his whole plan to him. And he actually offers Targitt a deal. He says, oh, when I first encountered you, I felt you were a threat. That's why I tried to kill you. Still doesn't explain why he didn't. He gassed him with poison. But when you survived, I realized a threat can become an ally. So he basically is saying, I want you to work with me to help me take over the underworld. And of course, Targitt's like, forget about it. No. But he keeps feeling stronger and stronger. So he breaks out of his, the things binding him. His bonds. That's the word. He breaks his bonds. And he's pissed off. He's like, you guys have taken shots at me, gassed me, beat me, stuck me on the wall like a butterfly. I've had it. And now you're going to get it. Grabs one of the skull bombs from Professor Death, throws it at his henchman, and then Professor Death attacks him. And I guess, so he's pretty strong too. So I guess that poison gas, or, well, not necessarily poison gas, it doesn't seem to kill anyone. That gas makes you super strong. The one that Professor Death developed. And Jerry Conway's really laying it on thick. Just every other panel is saying, yeah, I've been beaten, chained, gas choked, yet I feel fine. I feel powerful. It's like, yeah, we get it. You're stronger now. And he basically punches a hole through the hull and dives into the water. And then he feels the ship and he's like, oh, this is where the engine is. The generator and the motor. And he's so strong, he punches right through the hull of the ship again, and it blows up the ship by punching the engine, I guess. I don't know about the science of that. And then we see that he's fine. He swam away. And they're really leaning into this whole, he's not a dirty, hairy guy anymore. I've changed, but I'm ready. I'll never again wait for evil. No more just a moving target. For today, the man-stalker is born. And tomorrow, he will not even exist because this is the last issue of your comic. So, he's born just in time to be canceled. We have a letter page, the first and only letter page. And I like the negative ones. Seems like they always publish one negative one. And this one person is disgusted by the violence of Targitt. And he calls Targitt a paean to lynch law. It's just very against the whole vigilante thing. Of course, a lot of people, one guy even says, God, you might as well call this comic Death Wish. It's a ripoff. So there you go, guys. Targitt number 1 through 3. Maybe not Atlas Seaboard's finest hour, but I highly recommend these issues just for the amazing art of Howard Nostrand. And, usually when I say amazing, I mean like amazingly high quality. But this is all over the place with like crazy character, goofy, funny art and kind of art that's not that good. But the overall effect, it makes it even more interesting to me. There's some of those panels are just so wonky. This is almost like why I like underground comics, where, yep, this guy isn't a master in what he's doing, even though Howard Nostrand can be quite masterful in some of his stuff. But man, it's interesting as hell. Great storytelling, or at the very least interesting. And some of those panels were amazing. So hope you guys like looking at these with me. When I was a kid, this was my least favorite Atlas comic because it was so, there's no fantasy in it. It was just like, yeah, this is like Death Wish. This is like the cop shows that my mom watches every night and I don't want to watch. So, but I definitely appreciate it now. And hope you guys like looking at him. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.